President Trump says he's reached a trade deal with Vietnam following weeks of intense diplomacy between the two nations. Retail stocks like Nike are rising on the news because they make so many of their shoes there. Joining us now from Washington is Balance of Power co-host Kailey Leinz. So, Kailey, is this the beginning of a torrent of deal announcements coming out of the administration?
Well, that's what the administration has suggested, Matt. When I spoke with the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick last week, he said that they're looking at closing deals with about 10 trading partners by the July 9th deadline that the president has imposed and, of course, said yesterday is not looking to extend. Vietnam, though, would be just the third deal we have seen out of this White House, keeping in mind that there were already deals struck with the UK and then, of course, one formalized last week with China. As for what the details of this particular agreement with Vietnam are, not clear at this time. The president on Truth Social said details will follow. We'll have to wait and see what those details are. But keep in mind that initially, when he announced on what he dubbed as Liberation Day, what the reciprocal tariff rate on Vietnam would be, it was incredibly high, 46%. And the expectation is that whatever agreement will be struck will have a tariff rate set lower than that. That is what was indicated to me by Michael Falkender, the Deputy Treasury Secretary. He said, by and large, his assumption post-July 9th is that tariff rates with countries that have made agreements with the U.S. will be lower than what was seen on Liberation Day. Of course, it does indicate that things are going better for some Asian countries than others. Vietnam able to secure this deal, while Japan has been working tirelessly on trade diplomacy as well. The president indicated yesterday that he is not satisfied with what the Japanese are doing, suggesting a 30 to 35% tariff could be imposed on Japanese products, and he intends to just send Japan a letter essentially outlining that.
And we did just get another Truth Social post from the president. He writes that the terms are that Vietnam will pay the United States a 20% tariff on any and all goods sent into the U.S., a 40% tariff on any transshipping, and in return, Vietnam will do something they have never done before. These are the president's words: give the United States of America total access to their markets for trade. So there are just some of the details there. Kailey, I know that you are listening in real time, so I'll let you digest that. But you mentioned that Japan, for example, Vietnam seems to be having an easier time than Japan. Is that who we should really be on the lookout for next?
Well, certainly that was indicated by President Trump yesterday when he essentially was putting direct pressure publicly on Japan to make what he would view as a better agreement with the U.S., knowing he is particularly griped in recent days about, for example, purchases of U.S. rice. And again, he threatened a 30 to 35% rate on Japanese goods if something cannot be done by July 9th. It is a question as to what Japan is willing to give in return, as we just saw with this Truth Social post on Vietnam specifically. When he says open their market to the United States, that Vietnam will, he says we will be able to sell our product into Vietnam at zero tariff, even though Vietnam, of course, is going to be paying a 20% tariff, we understand, based on the president's words, on exports to the United States. So it's a question of how reciprocal these countries view these agreements to be, what Japan is going to be willing to acquiesce to, that the administration is asking for. But there is still time. The July 9th deadline is a week from today, Katie, and we know the president does tend to try to negotiate in public, to put public pressure on partners to try to get a better deal in his eyes for the United States. But it's Vietnam so far that is the third country to have success, again, to pay a 20% tariff on exports to the U.S. And the president says we will sell our products into Vietnam at zero tariff as we get open access, total access, in his words, to their markets.